Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed your cause. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
And let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2 included.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not while you can, monk boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side with Al.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Howdy and hail, everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Night Driving. We take a break from the week, watch a movie, and have invigorating discussions, because today is going to be one of those where Jed and I are on opposite ends of this movie. All right. Hey, Jed, how you doing today with your bisexual lighting?
I'm doing very well. Yes, I do have bisexual lighting. Have about for a week now, and it's just a gift from my nerdy home. Decided I should spruce up my background a little bit. I got to mess around with it a lot because it's all pink right now, and that's not exactly the direction I was hoping to go with it. But we'll see if I can mess around with it. Maybe do some camera filters or something to change that color a little bit. But it is great to be here. I do enjoy these streams, even when we don't agree on a film, because we're debating it in a classic sense.
Wait a minute. I thought we were an echo chamber.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's not true.
I thought we loved everything equally and always.
Mm-hmm. Everything good from the past, everything present bad. That's been the echo chamber that I was led to believe this was.
Okay. Anyway, well, I'm happy to have you here. And hail and hi to the chat across both our channels. We hope you guys enjoy the show. Hit those like buttons, subscribe to the channels, and let's just dive right in. No more preamble. 1985, legend. Tom Cruise's, I believe we just did math, 7th movie ever. He had not done a whole lot that had caught fire. Before this, 1983's Risky Business was the movie that put him on the scene. Then he did this, and while this was not a mega hit, it, in my opinion, at the time and going forward, cemented him as a genre actor. People would want to see him in fantasy and science fiction movies. He could pull that off. And then next year and the following year, in 86, he did Top Gun, and literally from then, he took off. We were just looking through his IMDb curriculum vitae, and he did it. Tom Cruise has done a movie every year since then. He rarely takes time off. It's fair to say he really is one of the legitimate last movie stars, because dude just makes movies, wants to entertain. I don't care what he does in his personal life, because he doesn't push that shit on me. He is there to entertain, and he's damn good at it too. I generally enjoy most of what I see from him. I have a few more movies I need to collect and put on my shelf from what he does that I really want. I've got about, I would say, 4 or 5, and members of my household, once Mission Impossible is all done, they want the entire Mission Impossible series. I've been waiting till it was done because I need to see how it all
Just
ends.
a little bit left. Yeah.
Yeah, with one movie to go.
Mhm.
I'm comfortable waiting to get it, but then those will go on the shelf. And there's a couple more within there, some that we've
Mhm.
reviewed here already. So, I always enjoy a good Tom Cruise movie because he there is a complete suspension of disbelief when I watch him in a movie. He gives it his all in that character. He does it, and I think he does it in this one. Now, Legend, 1985. As I said, Tom Cruise's first venture into genre. This is a pure whimsical fantasy movie. It apologizes for nothing with half naked little boys and midgets who are fairies and Tom Cruise fighting against a giant horned devil. I mean, darkness it literally is devil. Now I'm going to say this though, starting off right here. This is Tim Curry's movie. Let's be brutally honest. This is Tim Curry's movie. Tim Curry chews up the scenery every moment he's on screen. Now, there is a slight difference here, though. Now, unfortunately, as I have my copy right here, this is the Ultimate Edition with both theatrical and director's cut. The theatrical run is about 1 hour, 23 minutes. The director's cut adds another half an hour onto that. And it's more basically preamble and post. There's a little bit in between. There's a little more each other, but it's about 30 minutes. And in my opinion, it does make the movie better than the theatrical. Now, Jed, you only saw the theatrical cut. You could not find the director's cut.
That's true, but I did watch several of the scenes on YouTube, not just the ones that you sent me, Adam, but I was able to hunt down a few of the other scenes from the director's cut.
Okay.
And most of the time, I would say the theatrical versions of scenes are better. The one exclusion from that, I would say, is the opening, the initial one, because it didn't include his glowing green eyes or his glowing green fingernails.
Yeah,
that would be what made the alternate one better.
The thing about the opening thing, that's just part of there's the even more of the extended part there is you get more of Mia Sarah's Lily as what's going on there. But the opening is much better because here's the thing: if you watch the director's cut, Tim Curry's darkness, which is iconic, you got to say this: Tim Curry's darkness is an iconic thing in fantasy movies. I know everybody.
I'd never heard of it.
Really had man.
I'd never heard of this film, never seen anything from it. I didn't know it existed. I knew nothing about this.
It's a cult movie. It has a massive cult following.
It's got to be a cult because it didn't even make back its budget in the box office.
No, it was not a success.
It was a failure. And
no, it was
all
total
the reviews
failure.
online that I've seen for it are very, very negative.
But
I haven't seen anyone who really likes it as much as you.
Oh, well, every time I mention it in general nerd circles, everybody goes, yes, Tim Curry. Yes. I mean, it's a cult thing. I guess what I was saying, you either love this movie or you don't. I mean,
I will say Tim Curry's performance is good, but his writing is horrendous.
See, I like it. It's got
his
enough
prosthetics are amazing. That's the one thing that I can implicitly praise is
the practical effects in this movie are top notch.
I would give it absolutely that
because he is in full demon devil makeup there, and it's great. And see, I actually like every time Tim Curry's in a scene, I love the writing because I thought it's got just enough depth to it, and he puts just enough of a Shakespearean twist on it that it works for me, and it pulls me, and then I'm believing everything he is doing. And it's whimsical. And listen, I have my faults for this movie. I'm gonna get to them later. No, I don't completely love this movie. You might be surprised how much I'm gonna praise it, what my score is gonna be on this. You might think it's gonna be a little bit higher than what you might be at the end. But I think this is Tim Curry's movie because he steals every scene he's in. Tom Cruise, this is one of the movies he does the least amount of acting in. He doesn't do a whole lot of acting. But then again, if on the director's cut, Ridley Scott really does go for a lot more show don't tell in the director's cut. And Mia Sarah's best stuff in this is a lot of show, not tell. Because she does a lot of good emoting at certain points in the movie that sells what Lily is going through. Either way. So let's get going into this. This is on some unknown world, in some unknown planet, in some
That they
unknown
call
universe.
Earth several times.
They did call it Earth. I don't
At
think
the
they called it
beginning.
in the director's cut. I don't think they called it Earth.
In the text at the beginning, they said Earth several
That's
times.
the theater. That's a theatrical cut.
And they said it at the beginning too, like the darkness, like I've had to hide here beneath the earth.
But that's beneath that. I think beneath the ground. You could say that beneath Earth, beneath the ground. But in the director's cut, which is the one I watched, and then I sped through the theatrical one because I wanted to do a side by side to see exactly what was left out, since I could do that. It doesn't feel like it's Earth, though. It feels like it's just some mystical, magical planet, which is fine. And it's a very tight frame of a world. And that's one of my criticisms of it. There's not a lot of world building in this.
She's supposedly a princess with zero evidence.
She is a princess. They say she's a princess. Her father is a king. She's one of those tomboy princesses that likes to go out and venture. But the thing about Mia Sarah's Lily is that she's innocent. She's the embodiment of innocence. She doesn't have an impure thought in her mind. She doesn't believe that there are bad consequences or anything. She's just curious and she wants to experience things. And she likes to go and talk with the locals, and then she likes to hang out with Tom Cruise's Jack, who is just some dude in the forest. And in the theatrical cut, they play up with the more that he talks to animals. He can speak animal tongue and stuff like that. And he's teaching her how to speak. They leave that out of theatrical cut, only in director's cut. And it's basically one of those things of they're in love. They imply that she can't quite choose him to be her suitor, but she wants to be her suitor. And he has promised to show her something special. And it's the unicorns. And then the whole thing happens where unicorns, Darkness's plan, Tim Curry, is that the unicorns are lured into a trap because they're so attracted to her innocence. And that allows his goblins to kill the male and take its horn and kidnap the female. And it might be you'll probably consider it a large plot hole. I consider it a small plot hole, where why not just kill the mayor immediately?
It's still small on my list of plot holes and issues with this movie, but yes.
I recognize it's a plot hole. I recognize it's a plot hole that they try to cover up with the fact that Darkness is infatuated with Lily. And
they capture, at least in the theatrical cut, they capture the unicorn before the Darkness is seen or knows anything about the girl.
Let me see, in the director's cut, they leave certain scenes out in the director's cut that are actually in the theatrical cut. A couple of them, they leave a couple of them out. They don't actually show the capture. Actually, no. He does know Lily because Lily defends the mayor. So the goblins have seen Lily, but they didn't report her existence.
Yeah, Darkness doesn't know.
Yeah.
The goblins obviously saw her right off the bat when they were using her as bait, which somehow they figured out this is the innocent girl that we got to follow.
In the theatrical cut, Darkness basically points them in the direction. I mean, director's cut, he points them in the direction. He guides them. But I was saying, I got sidetracked. One of the brilliant things, though, is to me, it's brilliant. I think it makes it a much better movie. Is in the director's cut, as you saw, you don't see Darkness sitting in his throne with green eyes and glowing claws. All you see is his hand. It's another hour and 20 minutes into the movie before you actually fully see him. You've just heard him talking. You've just heard him plotting. And it's a much greater effect to have him suddenly appear out of the mirror and try to begin Lily's corruption at that point.
Mainly because of how bad he looked in that opening scene in the theatrical cut. I would agree with
cheesy.
You. The glowing green fingernails is ridiculous.
Yeah. And Legatus brings it up here in the chat that Ridley Scott has encouraged everybody to make sure the director's cut is the definitive version to do it. Unfortunately, as Jed found out, the streamers are not that compliant with putting the director's cut out there. They only have the regular one. And I tried to search in vain to say there has to be somewhere. It has to be somewhere. Amazon freaking sells it, but they won't have it on Prime. That doesn't make any sense to me. But it's fantasy, but it's whimsical. So, Jed, where do you want to start? Because I could just keep going on and on about the story and this and that, but I want you to start. This is obviously going to be a back and forth. I want you to give me your criticisms and let me try and defend this movie. I think that's the best way to go.
Okay. I can see very little of value in this film besides the prosthetics and the special effects. I thought all those were really great considering the time that it came out in mid 80s, especially the water hag. I thought the water hag's effects were
Do you know who
really
that
good.
was?
Mm-mm.
Robert Picardo.
Really?
That's Robert Picardo underneath all that makeup.
I knew it was a man, but
that is
yeah, I didn't know it was him.
that is emergency medical hologram, the doctor under all
He's
that.
the best part of Voyager.
Yeah, that is our one of our favorites, Robert Picardo, underneath all that makeup.
But I entirely believe that Tom Cruise phoned in his performance because he just was flat throughout the entire film, and characters' decisions were baffling to me, especially with the Tom Cruise more than anything else. I say the one person whose decision-making process tracks logically, or at least in a way that makes sense for the character, is the princess. I thought the princess made sense. A lot of her decisions, while innocent, were decisions I could reasonably see her making. Tom Cruise, every decision he made was baffling. At one point he says, "Oh, your mortal soul is at risk. You've done a terrible crime. We've got to deal with this, worry about this." And then she's like, "Hey, I'm going to throw my ring in the water. Do you want to be my husband?" And he's like, "Yep, let's just dive right in." And all that nonsense.
A little bit more to that in the director's cut. They give a little bit more of that.
But it just, everything turns on a dime. And yeah, his performance, I hated it. I'm shocked he had a career after this movie. Like, if I had only seen this movie, I would not think he is capable of good acting.
That's
like, it's that extreme.
All right, let's go from here then. A little bit of problem with the theatrical cut is that its pacing is too quick. And it just jumps.
I would disagree with that wholly. It's the longest short movie I've ever watched. 20 minutes in, I was praying for death.
Well, here's how I see it. Okay, let's all right. Let's see. You see, all right. So as far as Tom Cruise performance, I'll start there. It is not his strongest performance. I give you that. And as far as the decision making of Jack and the fairies, I will also, that is one of my criticisms. This is one of the worst parties, adventurer parties possible. They're morons. They are all complete morons. They have
the
no idea how
dwarves are
to fight.
exclusively comic relief, and the little satyr dude, at one point, he's like, "Oh my god, you did what with the unicorn?" And then Jack's like, "Oh, I did it for love." Okay, then it's totally fine. And then the rest of the movie, he's like, "Murder, kill. Oh, be a bad guy for." And it's like contradictory. If love is
What
a
it
good
is,
excuse, you can't be a murder psychopath after that.
What it is this? It is Ridley Scott trying to blend whimsical and hard fantasy. And in that case, when it came to Gump and the fairies and Jack, he thread that line, and it's a very tight walk, and he doesn't always land it. I will give you that.
I don't think he ever lands.
I think he landed because when you watch the director's cut, there's a lot of show don't tell for me with Tom Cruise emoting his way through stuff. Jack's dialogue is iffy at best early on. It gets more to it as we get to each part of the movie. When once he's in the Tree of Darkness, his decision making gets better. He starts to make more heroic decisions, and he leans on his instincts. And there is the pay up and the set off. Lily, I trust you. Lily, I trust you, Lily. I like that. How early on also there's the setup of her whole when she's dangling her charm and the reflective. He's intelligent. He's not your standard I'm gonna kick everybody's ass hero, because he is a guy who he's got his natural ability, but he's not a trained fighter. He barely beats Meg. He barely beats her. And then he uses his natural abilities to get to when in the fight with the ogres. I'll just call them ogres in the kitchen. He barely beats. He uses his agility to beat them. And with darkness, there's a lot of luck in his fight against darkness, and he has a lot of extra help there. And the plan, but then again, his plan is not to beat darkness in a one-on-one fight. It's to blast him with sunlight, and
which is bizarre. Those plates are the dumbest thing ever. No one is big enough to use those plates. No one's big enough to use those. Like, what's the practicality of those things existing? The ogres aren't that big. Even to the ogres, they're like this big. Like, they're still massive to the ogres. Those plates, like, you'd have to be a good 20, 30 feet tall.
Well, everything in there,
a little bit bigger makes sense.
Everything is bigger,
like 9 feet tall, but just not to that scale.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like, the plates being this big makes sense, but plates being this big is bizarre. And yeah,
well, you know what it could. Well, remember, they make a big deal that this is the tail end of that empire. They could be from another period in time. Then they're just there. They're not even really used anymore.
You know, why is that the only thing they have? Just very convenient. We have giant plates for just some reason, and they're exactly what the heroes need. It's too.
I wouldn't say exactly is that it's making use of what was there because they land in a kitchen. So it makes sense there are plates in the kitchen. Now, you can say that the plates aren't usually large, fine, but they are in a kitchen and the plates are there and they're reflective and it fits what they need. So I'm okay with it.
It seems bizarre, especially plates of that nature. And all right, this is something I hate a problem. You can't constantly with the darkness be saying light is my enemy, light is the bad thing, instead of saying the sun. If he was saying the sun the whole time, I'd have less of an issue, but he's constantly saying light. For someone who hates light, there is so much light in his secret lair. A giant fireplace that illuminates everything. He's constantly got light around. He even glows for something he was all about darkness.
It's implied enough that it's sunlight because he always referenced the sun is still rising. That's what harms me. Where's the mayor? Why is the mayor dead? We only killed that one. I think there's enough emphasis when he's talking about it that it's the sun, especially during the first act when they're hunting.
No, he's from a time. He's from before time, which actually doesn't mean anything, and before sun, before light at all. So they specifically say, at least in the theatrical cut, before light and time. So wouldn't he want a time before light and time, and wouldn't anything of light and time be detrimental to him?
Well, I don't know if I can go that far in breaking it down because I haven't even thought of it like that. The implication.
Yeah, for someone who is darkness, his name is literally darkness. His eyes glow.
But they call him darkness, but he's clearly the son of something even eviler, which lived the portal through the fire. He talks to his father through the fire. I mean, there's a lot.
He does call that thing mother. He calls it mother and father.
He called it. He says father in the director's cut, and he says mother towards the end when he's about to get blasted into space. Mm-hmm. But I think during the conversation with the fire, he calls the fire father.
Mm-hmm.
And it's implied that there is an even greater, more evil being that spawned him. A lot of us who I've ever discussed this with, always thought, okay, even though he looks like the devil, he actually serves the devil because he's darkness. But then again, his appearance is complete, very satanic in its depiction. But it's enough for me, especially in the director's cut, where he's complaining that the sun is still rising, that the sun is his threat, and obviously fire is the only light in the tree of darkness, and since he was born from fire,
is fire.
You know what I'm talking about. Stop twisting my words.
I'm not twisting your words. I'm just saying fire.
But the fire
are the same thing, just on different scales.
The fire is his father in that. It's born. Fire in that place is born from his father and born from beneath the earth, from darkness, not from the sun. Is like, remember, this is fantasy. It's fantasy. It's light and darkness, the opposing forces, and to me, it works with what his implications are that it's the sun. So I'm going to say it's fine. It's fine. Complaining about the light he's complaining about the sun, and they make it clear that it's the sun early on. So I'm okay. Back to Tom Cruise's performance. It's not a strong performance. He's got all the memorable lines have nothing to do with Tom Cruise in this. They're either Tim Curry or Mia Sara in some cases. As for the other performances, as I said, Mia Sara to me has really good emo performances when she is trapped when she's lured into the tree and she's alone and running there, and they begin her corruption, which I'm not sure. Watching it as many times as I have over the years, the director's cut does the way it's portrayed in director's cut. I never feel as though Lily is being corrupted at all, that she never buys into it at all. I think in the theatrical cut, at least when I was younger, when that's all I saw, I was sold to me a little bit better. But in the director's cut, her corruption arc doesn't quite land because she says in the beginning, I'm going to make this right. I'm going to make this right. And she goes in there. And now at one point, the closest part that it gets to it is when she dances with the shadow dress that she turns into that she's wearing. but when she's interacting with darkness, she never really gives in. And I think it might be better to say that, at least I'm going to look at it this way. You'll probably disagree. Darkness, for all his planning, all his scheming, when he says to Father, I am enamored with this woman, and she's making me feel things I haven't felt in an eternity. And then the Father says, corrupt her. I think his desire for her blinds him to the fact that she's pulling one over on him. No, nothing.
The theatrical cut, it doesn't suggest anything like that, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, the theatrical cut, it's just bizarre. It's like, all right, here's this dancing latex woman in a dress, and it's gonna trance you and make you evil.
See, I love that whole sequence. I love that sequence. It's this show. It's this back and forth, it's the whole light and dark back and forth concept, and how Lily's going here and there, and you think she's gonna fall, and then suddenly she's absorbed by it, and it wants you to think that she's falling for it. But then her discussion with darkness, where she does nothing but piss him off and resist him.
Why does she dance?
I think that's Ridley Scott for the whimsical. And what I like is,
I get why the dress dances, but why does she start dancing if it's all fake?
No, at that point, I don't think it's fake. At that point, she doesn't know she's being corrupted. I think she is drawn in by the magical nature of it, because she's susceptible, because she's innocent.
She's like, it's pretty, let me dance too.
I think so. I think it's that simple. Now, here's the thing. This is something that the director's cut has that the theatrical doesn't. In the beginning, and I'm going to do a defense of Lily here as a good character and a well done character, a well done, strong female character who doesn't actually behave like a man, but retains her strong female characteristics. When the movie starts in the director's cut, she's singing about nature and birds. It's very Snow White. And there's a lot of Snow White implications. And even at the end with a true love's kiss at the end too. So what I think Ridley Scott with the director's cut does, they do a lot. It leads you down the road of, we're going to go a little Snow White, but then we're going to take a sharp curve and go very sort of dark with this whole thing, with a unicorn dying and Lily on the run and her Prince Charming not even sure where she is, and becomes a temporary trust issue. And going in there, I think it's a whole play on what if Snow White was tempted by evil? Will she retain her innocence, her purity, her goodness? And I think that the dancing scene and her innocence being beguiled by beautiful things is part of the temptation, and she is teetering. But when she actually sees darkness, I think she retains her desire to make it right, to save the unicorn mare. And therefore, everything she does from that point on, once darkness exits the mirror and says, just sit and talk with me, it's all her playing for time and looking for an opportunity. And then now it is a little abrupt where she goes, let me kill the unicorn. That's abrupt.
Yeah.
It is
very,
abrupt.
Very abrupt.
And the fact that darkness believes her is stupid on his part, but I believe it because he's enamored with her and he desires her so much. So his lust is blinding his better judgment, even though all his well-laid plans have fallen into place. And that goes back to what I said earlier. That is kind of how I think they attempt to close the small plot hole of why did you just kill the mayor? Because he wants to, for him, it's a bigger victory to corrupt the innocent princess and have her do the deed. And that is then complete victory.
I don't get how that's a bigger victory than, reclaiming the earth, which has been his goal since time began.
Because then I think it's about the desire to corrupt something, to break something that is good and make it evil. To that kind of
that's what he's doing to the planet as a whole.
But if he does it, then he doesn't corrupt her. And I think that's a key thing for him once she's in his line of sight. Corrupt this pure good thing. Make it evil like me. Make it disgusting. Make it dark so that she can be my perfect queen.
I can see I could see the desire from him to do that, having the very egotistical perspective on that, but I don't know if I would classify it as being prioritized above his whole goal. And
I think it's his ego, his
eternal plan at risk.
It wraps it all together. Because here's the thing. he doesn't know that his plan's in jeopardy because Jack and the Bumbling Brigade are bouncing around in the tree. He has, because that is a failing too. He has 0 servants. Blix and Pig Goblin and the ogres and some hooded people. This is the end of his reign. He's got nothing, and what he's supposed to do is supposed to recatalyze everything. And the fact that he has no troops and nobody knows after Meg, who I guess was the lone guardian in the swamp.
I don't even know if it suggests that she was an intentional guardian, like more like Shelob in Lord of the Rings, where it's like she's just a natural force that happens to guard it, but like she's not in cahoots with the darkness. That's what I got. Is she's just, this is where she lives. Okay, let's have her be like kind of an unofficial guard. But
I think it could go either way. It can go either way, and I'm okay with either way. But I think he had the fact that he's not in a rush, the fact that he keeps claiming Slight is my enemy. Isn't that enemy? He has no idea that there's a threat in the tree because nobody spots Jack. Because even though everybody, that the trap that Jack and the Fairy Brigade fell down, that's just a trap that's been there. That wasn't even something that was set up and maintained. It falls right into the cages, and every once in a while, the ogres will go in and see if anything's there. So, him not in a rush to just kill the mayor, while it may not make sense in terms of supervillain evil plan, he doesn't feel threatened by anything. So
and
that's
it
why
doesn't
he takes
make
his time.
sense prior to that, and that's what I have the bigger problem with. His henchmen were told, go kill the unicorns. They kill one, and then they decide to go capture the other one. Why didn't they just immediately kill? That's what I have the bigger issue is the henchmen proved that they were capable of killing the first unicorn and did it. But with the second one, they're like, for this one, let's just take this one home for no reason.
Well, he said, bring me the mayor. In the director's cut, he says, bring me the mayor.
Yeah, that's not in the theatrical.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
They don't even show them really getting it that well. It's in the theatrical cut. It's very weird. It's like, oh, I guess he has the unicorn.
They chase down the unicorn, and Lily tries to defend it. And then, well, what happens is Lily and Fairy Dwarf number 1, drunk Fairy Dwarf, Irish Fairy Dwarf, they defend the mayor, and the mayor runs off, and then they capture it. But Darkness does say capture the mayor. I'm pretty sure in director's cut he said capture the mayor. So those were his orders. And then when Lily is captured along with the mayor, he then becomes obsessed with her. And because I also say this is Ridley Scott's show don't tell. He has no idea there's a threat to his plan, which is why he's so nonchalant, which is why he feels he has time to corrupt Lily and not just kill the mayor right away. Because it's more satisfying to corrupt something pure and then have it do the deed. I think that's why it works, which is why he's captured off guard when Jack and crew bust down the door with the plan. Now, once we get to the third act where we're setting up for the confrontation, all right, Act 1, especially in the director's cut, it's a lot of setup, a lot of character work, which makes Lily a better character, makes Jack a better character. And even though I will give you this, the director's cut softens it a little bit, but going from Jack chastising Lily, like you mentioned earlier, about going near the unicorn, and then her basically in director's cut, it's basically what she does to distract him from his anger is talk about love, talk about I want you to marry me, my suitor, find the ring.
Well, and before that, he barely even tries to stop her from going towards the unicorn. If it was as bad as he said it was,
he tries to
do more than just no stop.
No, he starts to go back and forward, but the presence of the unicorn seems his own upbringing of don't go near them seems to be instilled in him.
He needs to say more than just please don't. Like he needs to actually say, if you go near it, your soul is in danger. Like actually say something instead of no, oh no, please.
That was fine. He didn't go, oh no, please. No, he's going, don't do it. And he tries to stop her, but the unicorn's presence itself keeps forcing him back because
then he needs to say something of substance.
They
showed it.
They showed it, and that worked in the director's cut. It works in the director's cut.
It's moronic of him if he knows how bad this is. And he tries to stop her physically in the director's cut, great, but once that fails, he needs to resort to saying actually saying what's going to happen so she knows how bad it is, because he's probably like she probably thinks, oh no, he just he doesn't want me to go near. Probably not a bad thing. Like maybe I'll spook them or something. Like she has no way of knowing how bad this is, and if he actually cared, and as much as he freaked out later, if he loved this woman, he needs to say, "Don't. This is why."
The thing is this, though.
Put some effort in.
Everybody says "Soul's damned, no mortal can touch it," but the only problem truly is, though, is that the unicorn is distracted by innocence. There isn't actually a curse for going near the unicorn. They never actually display a curse. The only problem is that a mortal shouldn't go near it because it is an actual weakness to the unicorn, and the unicorn is not paying attention anymore. So it's not a mortal, an innocent mortal. And
he needs to say that later on.
I don't think he understands. I don't think he understands that. I don't even think
just from his perspective. Just from his perspective, based on what he knows, he literally says, "You risked your mortal soul." So he knows this is bad. So even if that's a false perspective, even if that's not how it actually works, that's how he believes it works.
Yeah.
And if he believes that how he works, he needs to make decisions that equate with that, with how much he loves this girl. Because based on that scene, I got the impression that he just didn't really care about her. Like, oh, okay. And then he just walks away slowly, like, do. I guess she's dead. Fuck her.
No, he didn't walk. No. He vanishes after the unicorn runs away, and then he chastises her. Then he comes down, and he's going to.
In the theatrical cut, he stands up, turns around, and walks away very slowly, very nonchalantly.
No,
I don't know if that's in the director's cut.
I'm pretty sure the director's cut. After when she's trying to go there, he says, "Lily, don't do this. You can't do this." She goes forward, says, "What harm will it do?" He tries to stop her. He starts to go forward, but then the unicorn's presence seemingly makes him not want to get any closer because it's instilled in him not to go near it. And then after the whole unicorn, it charges, and then when Blix hits it with the tranquilizer dart, and the stallion runs away, and they don't know that the goblins did that because they didn't see the goblins. The goblins were still in hiding. Then he chastises her from above. He climbed up into the tree because that was, I think Jack's disappearance in that moment is his own fear of what just happened. So he can't be there because he doesn't want to be there because he to him it's taboo. Even though I think the whole taboo thing of the unicorn, you could call that headcanon. I'm just going by what I see in the movie because everybody talks about no mortal this, no mortal that. But the only bad thing is the fact that it makes the unicorn defenseless. It doesn't actually impart a curse on anybody.
Yeah, but it's the information he shows. But no, in the theatrical cut, it physically shows him looking at her, about to touch it. He stands up and walks away nonchalantly.
Yeah, that's
and
the
then she goes
cut,
and
yeah.
finds him later. But from what you described, I don't believe he loves this woman. From that scene, both the scene that you described and the one, I don't believe he loves her. I don't believe their chemistry at all to begin with. But
really,
yeah,
there's more to it. In the director's cut, they have two more scenes before that with them interacting and having conversation and showing their relationship more. This is one of those instances where the director's cut flushes out their relationship instead of just this and that. Because I will say,
in and of itself, that scene would ruin it though. Because
I disagree.
With each other, acting like I love you, like that can help build a relationship. But like you said in Show Don't Tell, that scene is showing me
they don't actually say I love you until the end of the movie.
Whatever, like having good conversations is a great thing to develop relationship, but when it comes to people's actions, if they make actions that contradict that, those will show their relationship, their chemistry more than any dialogue can.
I disagree on that. I think Jack's reaction is one of inbred fear of the situation, which is why he reacts the way he does, and he chastises her, and he in his defense, he did the best he could in that situation.
No, he didn't. I will not accept that. I get like him moving after her and it stops her. That's fine. That is the most he can physically do. But he knows how to talk. It's not like he's mute. If he were mute, I would accept your interpretation, but he knows how to talk. He can say, hey, this is dangerous. He just says, please don't. No. Oh, no, don't do this. She has no way of knowing how bad this is based on his perception, his taboo, whether or not it's true. His belief is that this is very, very bad for her and dangerous.
I'm going to stand on the fact that the director's cut makes a more emphasis on that. So I'm going to stand on that.
You're not saying he said anything though. He just physically moved after her. If he doesn't say anything, I don't believe he loves her.
Here's the problem. I can't word for word the scene. because we watched two different cuts and I wasn't paying attention to the word for word scene, I can't give a full-throated defense of what his dialogue is in the moment if the directors could added anything. I can't do that. I'd have to go back and watch it now.
Yeah.
And that's not how we do the show. So unfortunately, I'm simply gonna stand on the director's cut. I think makes the scene stronger because it extends it and there's more to it, and it before and after, leading up to the ring into the water, and also that whole thing. And the whole ring in the water, I feel as though that whole scene is I really did like the way it was filmed when he's underwater, where it's all distorted and he's swimming, because that's when the world is changing. Because that's the moment when the the stallion is killed and his horn is taken, and that is the true curse upon the world. The murder, of the stallion and the mare, who is now all on her own. And it's that whole thing where love blinded him. Him being Jack, love and his desire for Lily blinded him. Instead of going after and making sure the unicorn was okay, love of her blinded him, and he immediately jumped into the water and went swimming. And the world literally changed that moment because he was blinded by that. Trying to find the ring, he comes up and is blocked by ice and couldn't get out, and then everything goes to hell. With that, of course, does lead to one of the weakest things in this movie for me, though. Clearly, I love this movie, but my complaints: the fairy folk. I think the fairy folk were not the one, even though they played by fairy folk rules, fae rules. Later on, we don't deal well with iron, that kind of stuff. I like that they added that in there. That was the weakest part because, and I said it, this is a bungling crew that Jack surrounds himself with. A bungling crew. And I wouldn't trust the fate of the world to these people. I wouldn't. And I can say that.
No.
Jack, yes, because Jack is intelligent and he's able to, and he comes with a good plan that works everything, but he doesn't. I mean, I'm sorry, they don't. I mean, Gump sucks. Gump does suck. He has that bow and arrow he never used. The one time he uses it against darkness during the final battle, and it doesn't do shit against darkness. He's like, I'm stuck. I've been hit by 3 arrows and I don't care. Every time there's a fight, Gump vanishes. He never fights. During the fight with Meg, he doesn't do anything. During the fight with the ogres in the kitchen, he doesn't do shit. Even though you see him fumbling at one point with his bow and arrow, he doesn't do shit. And he's just there Gump's basically there to lecture the other fairies. He can't even. In fact, Una is more useful than Gump. She's much more useful. But though that's the weakest part of the movie. The Fae folk are the weakest part of the movie for me because I find them useless and they can't accomplish anything. And one thing does piss me off. Jack has this nice little sword, and this is an editing problem. He loses it between killing Meg and ending up in the kitchen dungeon. It's just gone. And that it's bugged me for 30 years now. And it bugs me to this very day. Because when he has to fight darkness at the end, he gets a sword. He gets a freaking sword that's 2 times too big for him to be wielding against a giant demon that is way stronger and way more skilled than he is in combat. But that's where that goes for me. Now, I want to shift gears. I do want to talk Tim Curry. Have I talked about Jack and Tom Cruise enough? Okay, we've done enough of that. I think final thoughts on that. I think Tom Cruise did a lot more emoting with Jack than actual voice acting, and it worked for me. Mia Sarah does the same. Lily does a lot of good emoting, a lot of good show don't tell reactions to everything, which shows she's doing. And I like the way that she retains her agency as a strong heroine princess by going through this ordeal to save the mayor. And I do like their relationship because he trusts her. I trust you, Lily. And she does follow through, even though darkness bitch slaps her right there. And what I like in that moment is Jack's love for Lily overrides everything. Darkness, and then he just does the hero thing and leaps right in. We have hero battle. But we got to talk
Final thoughts from me.
Okay,
On both of those, I disagree on all those points. I don't think Tom Cruise emoted once in the movie. I didn't see a facial expression from his besides blankness. Oh yeah, blankness was the only thing I got from him. She did a little bit better. I do love her as an actress from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is one of my favorite films. But she just came across as very flat and bland to me as well, especially writing. And her performance, I felt like everyone, even Tim Curry, phoned it in for me. Like I felt like no one wanted to be there.
I think Tim Curry's chewing up scenery is darkness. I think
his prosthetics are good.
I think he got off being in the prosthetics and doing full on devil. I think he got off on it and he just loved every second of it. And I like his dialogue the best because it has that.
Dialogue is so bad.
I love it. It's so good. Every little line, it's enunciated, it's delivering, it's got that. I'm not saying it's Shakespearean, but it's delivered with that
cheesy as hell,
and it works. It's good.
I totally disagree.
I am darkness. What is light without darkness? I am a part of you all.
I want to laugh every word he says.
It's so like
you're a temper tantrum child who's got their hands on a thesaurus.
He's not temper tantrum. He throws one tantrum when she rebuffs his advances, and that's because
this is how a gay 5-year-old talks when he's mourning his existence.
No,
oh, it's me. I love the dark.
No, that's that theatrical cut. It's better. His opening monologue in the director's cut is a lot better when you. It's also different words. It's a different monologue when he's talking to his father, the fire sitting and throwing it.
I saw both those scenes, and I think the dialogue's equally terrible. The only thing
I
that makes the director's cut better is the lack of glowing greenness.
No, I think it's better. I think it sets up him perfectly. I think his cheesiness, his chewing up scenery, is what makes it good. I think the dialogue it's got that faux Shakespearean to it. I think that's the way I want to put it. I've been trying to find a way to say Shakespearean without being Shakespearean. It's a faux Shakespearean that works. It's that kind of fayness that Shakespeare implied to his whimsical nature of everything. And I think Curry
what makes this difference is I'm a big Shakespeare nerd. I've read nearly every single one multiple times. Like I know Shakespeare, iambic pentameter, and that type of language very well. And I
said faux. I said faux. It's not.
I feel like this is what a 14-year-old gay kid thinks Shakespeare sounds like.
No. I think it's.
I honestly think this is one of the worst written movies I've ever seen, top to bottom, and worst performed.
Really,
I like the prosthetics. That is all I can give. Legitimately, the prosthetics are the only positive things I can give this movie. During it, I told Rachel I would rather watch Rings of Power.
Oh man, that's harsh. That's harsh.
I really didn't like this movie.
Do you not just want to enjoy whimsical fantasy fun?
No, when it's nonsense.
It's not nonsense. It's a classic story of good and evil. Is it boiled down? Is it not very deep? Yeah, but it gets the job across where you know their intentions. There's no gray area. And his attempted corruption of Lily is ham-fisted, but that's because he hasn't done it for an eternity. And he's trying to woo her. His attempts at wooing are supposed to be stilly and borderline comical because there's this giant thing and you're being brought to heel in terms of emotional by this tiny little woman. And he's trying to woo her. But his best lines are when he's monologuing, when he's ordering the goblins around. It's great. It's good. It's that great kind of cheesy where it's just so over the top with the words go. I mean, Legatus has a great line right here. Black as midnight, black as pitch, blacker than the foulest witch. It's faux Shakespeare, but that's if you understand that and you accept it going in, it has that joy of this is cheesy and it's over the top and it's not serious, but it's whimsical and it works. It touches the little fantasy need you get, and it's
I fundamentally disagree.
What do we have here? A little boy. It's so good, and I do. The choreography is weak at the end there. The sword fight is weak choreography, very weak choreography. I admit that, but it's still a fun fight. It's still a fun fight. They're facing off, and and Darkness is taunting Jack while they're doing it. It's got all that classic cheesy supervillain stuff to it, and then it's set up. And Jack doesn't win that fight in the traditional sense. His plan wins it when the sun bursts through, and he gets ill, and then he gives that final speech. And Jack just cut. I love it. I used to quote that speech when I was a kid because I loved it. It was great. I loved it. I love it. I accept the cheesiness, every line, because it's that faux Shakespearean cheesiness. I use that over and over again, but that's the best way I can describe it. Its depth is fake, but it's acceptable because it knows it's fake. It knows it's being light fantasy. It's not trying to impart anything. It's just trying to impart good versus evil. It's not trying to go beyond that, and that's why it's acceptable to me. So anyway, and I think Tim Curry gives the best performance, and he is when it comes to
it's definitely the best performance of the movie. Yeah, absolutely.
He is the best part of the movie, no matter what, and I will say that. And as far as the ending goes, the director's cut is a better version. In the theatrical cut, they just skip over all the final moments of Lily and Jack conversing. They have an actual conversation at the end.
I saw that scene, and I do like that version where we actually get to see that. But I don't like how he walks into the sunset on his own. Like I don't like that. Either of those scenes, but I think it was better.
I like it better. I don't like when they're together because first of all, they have this lame ass 80s legend is what you want to be. That is fucking cringe. That is cringe as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And what the theatrical cut leaves out and what the director's cut does better is the director's cut makes 1,000 times better use of Jerry Goldsmith's score. This is a Jerry Goldsmith score, and you don't get enough of it in the theatrical cut. In the director's cut, the entire ending is just laid on thick with Jerry Goldsmith, and it works. It's that Jerry Goldsmith.
Even the music didn't work for me.
Oh, it didn't work for you?
At least the theatrical cut, it felt like the same Celtic song over and over again. And in the worst moment,
they abused it. They
abused it, yes,
in the score.
Yeah,
in the theatrical cut, they abused it. In the director's cut, there's more Jerry Goldsmith in the director's cut. There's way more. None of that cheesy crap.
The Celtic music just felt so out of place in a lot of moments. Like it just the music never fit the scene. It's like, all right, this is a serious moment. This is an intense moment.
The theatrical cut score is worse.
Get a fairy.
The director's cut score is great Jerry Goldsmith music. It's much better. So, and that is kind of the problem of today that I think you weren't going to like this either way. I can tell that. You were not going to like this either way. I think a full
I can say, though, that I went into it with no bias because I knew nothing about this movie. I saw the poster before starting.
I think the director's cut might have softened the blow. Just a full viewing of the director's cut might have softened the blow a little bit for you. And I don't think you would have been as angry. But I like the director's cut ending does it better. And I like him going off on his own because it's a better whimsical nature of it's not a Disney-fied happy ending. Oh, we're bye everybody. We're walking in the distance.
It feels so fast then in that case. It's like, oh, you just saved my life. I'm gonna go home. I'll see you tomorrow. It's like, well, dude, you just did the kiss to come back. We just defeated a villain. Let's take a
but then that's saying now we're gonna take it. We're gonna move to the next stage. It's not simply, oh, we're happy ending ever after. No, I like that little bit of that smidgen of realism at the end. Makes it even better.
It's fine that it's not the fairy tale ending, but she literally just like wakes up after this giant battle and she's like, cool, I'll see you tomorrow, and just walks away casually like nothing ever happened.
Well, obviously something happened time-wise because she's back in her clothes. They're in one piece.
No, I'm saying from when she woke up to when she left. Not necessarily how long she was asleep. She woke up 5 minutes later. She's going home.
I don't mean how long she was asleep. I think the movie, and they leave out actually a scene in the director's cut that is in the theatrical cut, the returning of the horn to the stallion. They leave that out. They don't put the horn in the director's cut. It just happens off camera. and which I think was a mistake. They should have had Gump putting the horn back on the
Yeah,
sky.
you need to see that.
You need to see that. That was a mistake. No, but there is sort of this feeling that with balance restored, time kind of reset itself a little bit, because there's no way Lily is back with her hair all perfect, her headpiece back on, her dress, her everything back to normal like that without something magical having happened post the battle in the Tree of Darkness and the return of the horn. So that is why she wakes up and in the director says, "Was that all a dream?" It said it was a horrible dream. And then Jack makes sure to let her know, no, that was real. And it's kind of it's a real conversation of I learned something, learned this, that, and Jack then says, I got the ring. And then she gives it to him as a symbol of we're gonna be together for. Although here's the thing, I think in the director's cut, even though she says, I'm going to see you tomorrow, they're kind of trying to imply that she also may be ready to move on and understand that she can't have Jack in her world. That Jack's world and her world are two different things. And then by giving him the ring, in the direction of giving him the ring and putting it on his pinky, instead of he put it on her ring finger, then she took it off and put it on his pinky finger. I think it's kind of a sign of I will always love you and I'll come back tomorrow, but I think I'm starting to go live in my world because your world of fae and fantasy and nature, I don't quite fit in here. And my presence is a danger to all of this. I think that's what Ridley Scott may be trying to imply with the director's cut ending.
That's reading in a lot from that scene that I saw, unless there's another scene in there, but
no,
I didn't see any evidence of that.
that's what I felt implied yesterday when I was watching it. And so that's the feeling I got. Now I got to say this is maybe only the third time I've watched the director's cut. Because for years I used to just watch this one on TV, and then a bunch of years ago I picked up my copy, and I've only ever watched the director's cut since on that. Anyway, I think we have beat this one to death today. As you can see, guys, we can have a civil conversation and disagree on a topic and be okay with it. And we leave it up to you, the chat, in the comments, this and that. Decide. Let us know what you think, whether it's on the live stream now or on the re-uploads. Let us know what you think, and let's go forward and then give our closing thoughts. So this was my movie. I get to go first. I think I've been kind of consistent the whole stream. The whimsical nature of it, I really like in the and once again, make this clear, guys. Jed and I watched two different movies for today. I watched the director's cut. He watched the theatrical cut. We tried our best to link it up, but it just was director's cut was unavailable for stream. Just wasn't. So that that made it a little hard for us to really have the complete discussion, but we did the best we could. We hope you enjoyed it. But understand my take. My scoring is based on the director's cut. So understand that. So I like the whimsical nature of it. I like it that in the director's cut, it's got a very Snow White vibe to it with the singing and the animal talking, and how you think you're going to get a Snow White movie, and it turns into this somewhat dark dystopian version where you have the devil trying to woo Snow White. Instead of Prince Charming wooing Snow White, you have the devil wooing Snow White. And I enjoy Tim Curry's performance. I think it's just scenery chewing left and right, and I love a good scenery chew. I think Tom Cruise and Mia Sara, while they're not putting on verbal acting, I found their emoting to be. I found it conveyed everything I wanted in the scenes where there was a lot less dialogue and a lot more show don't tell. It made it for me. I like the setups and the payoffs, the jangling, reflective jewelry that ends up with the plate reflection for the sun. I like the I trust you, Lily. I like that build up. I like that maintain. I like the relationship. Not the best choreography in the world. Frankly, it's like a C for choreography. It's passable, but I still dig it because I like sword fighting. I like a giant monster or a hero, this and that. And the Jerry Goldsmith track in the director's cut makes it work a lot better than the actual cut. And this is a movie that I've always enjoyed it forever. So that's why I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I am always satisfied every time I watch this movie. Okay, here we go.
Well, I really didn't think there was much of value in this film besides the prosthetics and the special effects. Those were phenomenal for the 80s. I really enjoyed a lot of those, especially the water hag. The water hag felt very Witcher to me, so I enjoyed that design. And even the little banter that we got. I saw the different version where it's more a wooing scene in the director's cut. That one was a little weird, but I can see what they were going for with it. But I liked, what was her name, Meg. I loved Meg. I think Meg is my favorite part of the movie, beyond some of the cheesiness in that scene and how he ultimately defeated her. But besides that, I don't think anyone really gave what I would call a performance. I'm genuinely shocked that anyone, Ridley Scott, Tom Cruise, or the chick from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, had careers after this. That's genuinely how I feel. Tim Curry's
didn't have
lucky.
much of a career to begin with, so
True. But Tim Curry, I think the reason why I can still believe he had a career after this, because his face was so covered up, I wouldn't have known it was him unless I was told or looked it up. So that was his protection against this movie. I think it really is just a horrendously written movie, and just nonsense. Every character making contradictory decisions. No consistent character development. The plot was at best the simplest point to A to point B thing I've ever seen. At worst, just scrambled nonsense. So there's a lot of modern day movies I would rather watch than this, but the special effects were good enough that I have to give it a little bit more than I would otherwise. But I'm gonna have to give this a 3 out of 10.
Ouch. Jed, you're breaking my heart.
I really
Anyway, okay, guys. Once again, Echo Chamber. Isn't it awesome? Echo Chamber. All right, Jed, you're going to get to torture me next week now, aren't you?
Yes, revenge is best served cold in this case, as we are going from a hot, fiery under tree to the coldness of outer space with 2001: A Space Odyssey, courtesy of Stanley Kubrick, which I have never seen before, but Adam says he hates it, so I'm on board for some revenge.
Stanley Kubrick. Fuck Kubrick.
I don't know how I'm gonna react to it, because I think The Shining is massively overrated. The Shining's fine.
Everything Kubrick does is massively overrated.
Full Metal Jacket, first hour is really great. I love the basic training stuff, but after that, it's heavily overrated.
Eyes wide
so,
shut.
of what I've seen of Kubrick, I would say he's extremely overrated. But 2001, I am excited to, because it is a premier sci-fi film that established a lot of the genre.
I'm gonna say this now, and I'll say it again this week. There's one good thing you get out of 2001: Space Odyssey. Ric Flair's entrance theme. That's it, baby. Woo! All right, guys, we are done. Thank you all for watching, whether watching live now or on the re-upload. We will see you again next week. Until then, guys, take it easy. Have a good night or day wherever you may be.